The Black Plague, also known as the bubonic plague, began in October of 1347 in Europe. 12 ships dropped an anchor at Sicilian port in Italy. Those who approached the ship were met with a horror sight. Almost all aboard were either dead or barely alive, and their skin was erupting with black spots. In horror, the Sicilian authorities demanded the ships to set sail, but though they left, the damage had already been done. The Black Death was now in Europe, and millions would die in what was considered one of the greatest disasters in history. Europe was hit hard by the plague, but it was not hit first. It was also not unaware of a disease that was already bringing widespread death and destruction in the world. Before the infested ships arrived in Sicily, rumors of a sickness devastating the populations of China, India, Egypt, Persia, and Syria had already been noticed. While no one knew what caused it or why, it seemed to follow trade routes. Further, when it appeared, it was by all counts unstoppable. The growths would soon develop into large, blackish, blue-sized lumps, or even for the less fortunate, expand to the size of apples. These would often burst up and ooze various bodily fluids. Beyond this, those with the disease could develop any combination of a series of additional symptoms. These included fever, pain, chills, sweating, upset stomach, and diarrhea. The plague never really went away, and when it returned, 800 years later, it killed with reckless abandon. It was known as the Black Death, which hit Europe in 1347, claiming 200 million lives in just 4 years. As for how to stop the disease, people still had no scientific understanding of contagion, but they knew that it had something to do with proximity. That's why forward-thinking officials in the Venetian-controlled port city of Ragusa decided to keep newly arrived sailors in isolation until they could prove they weren't sick. At first, sailors were held on their ships for 30 days, which became known in Venetian law as a Trentino. As time went on, the Venetians increased the forced isolation to 40 days, or a quarantino, the origin of the word quarantine, and the start of its practice in all the world. In October of 2017, the United Nations Health Agency had to improve its response due to a plague outbreak in Madagascar that had spread to the capital and port towns, infecting more than 100 people in just a few weeks. So the World Health Organization released a $300,000 in emergency funds as well as critical medical supplies to quickly scale up operational efforts and is appealing $1.5 million to support the response. The plague is an endemic to Madagascar, where around 400 cases of mostly bubonic plague are reported annually. People believe that the bubonic plague or the Black Plague happened hundreds of years ago and it's not gonna come back. It is still here, just that now we know how to control it.